my most loving pranams at Swami's lotus feet. I pray to Swami that he gives all of us the understanding that it is Swami who speaks, it is Swami who listens through each one of us. Respected elders, sisters and brothers, salam to all of you. Thank you for this opportunity to spend this beautiful afternoon with all of you in thoughts of Swami. I would just like to share some of the reflections that I personally contemplate upon to try and understand the role of Swami in each one of our lives. Like anything on Swami, nothing can be comprehensive. Nothing can be complete, for I don't think any human mind can claim to understand him, his words, and his very advent completely. But in the process of trying to look at him, study his words, study his message, and observe his life, I think much can be attained in our own lives and in our own little time that we spend here. There was a time when Swami was giving a discourse and he all of a sudden said that I'm going to give you all a mantra. For those who are familiar with the idea of having a guru, to have a mantra is always considered very special. Sometimes the guru puts the devotee or the disciple through much trouble before a mantra is given. Swami would also narrate a Chinnakatha where there was this man who spent many years serving a master, hoping that the guru will do the mantropadesh, which means will give him the mantra that he can contemplate on. And he serves the master for 12 years, Swami says. At the end of the day, when the disciple is running some errands, the last moments of the guru comes and he is still not given the mantra. So he writes it on the sand as he passes away. And the story goes that there is a dancer who sees this mantra. She quickly writes it down in a leaf and keeps it with her. And when this disciple returns, she says, now you should serve me for 12 years before you get the mantra. And the man who is a sincere aspirant serves that dancer for 12 years. And he travels from land to land, serving her wherever she would go. He was going along with her. At one point, they come to a kingdom, and it is said that the king did not have an heir for a very long time. So he goes to a Mahatma, a great soul, and he tells him that one day when you do Narayan Seva, right, when you're feeding the poor, one very noble person will come and have food. And when that happens, you serve him and you will get the blessing of a child. And how do you know that such a person has come? I think he gives some indication that when he eats food in the Narayan Seva that you're doing, he says the temple bells will ring or something like that. And this man who is serving this dancer happens to come by that kingdom, eat that prasadam that is being offered, and the temple bell rings. The king sends word for him. Then he comes to know about the whole series of events that have happened, that 12 years he has served, 12 years he has served the dancer. So then the king comes up with a plan that he calls this dancer to dance in the court. At the end of it, he gives her a pair of diamond earrings because this dancer has written the mantra in a leaf and folded it and put it in her earrings. So he gives her earrings, and in the greed for those golden diamond earrings, she throws away the earrings that she wears. With that, the mantra, and this aspirant goes and picks up that mantra. And Swami would say he read it, and in one moment he attains realization. And Swami, whenever he would say this, he'd say that we all might think that there was some special mantra that was there in that leaf. But what actually gave him that liberation was that yearning and that sincerity. with which he pursued that mantra, pursued that blessing. So those who are familiar with the tradition of a guru and a disciple, a guru, Sishya, Parampara, as they say, we all give a lot of importance to mantras. So when in a public discourse, Swami stood up and said, I am going to give all of you a mantra, everybody was excited. And Swami said, this is the mantra I am going to give you. And Swami said, it's a panchakshari, which means it is 5-syllabled. And Swami told in Telugu, Devudunnadu, that is the mantra. Right? Swami said, Devudunnadu, which means God exists. And Swami said, that is the mantra. Many would have been disappointed, I hope not here. Because Swami said, this is the mantra that you have to constantly keep contemplating upon. What really is a mantra? Swami would say, Mananat Trayate iti mantra. That which when you constantly contemplate upon, it enables you to cross over. It enables you to traverse this journey, this distance. And Swami said, for that, all of us should give ourselves to the contemplation that God is, God exists. Why is it so important to believe that God exists? Yesterday, after I spoke at Melbourne, one small boy came and asked me, is it necessary to know that God has a plan? Does God really have a plan? I don't know if God has a plan, but doesn't it help to think that God has a plan? I often think of this as an analogy. Let us say I am not keeping well. I go to a doctor. The doctor prescribes some medicines for me. I take those medicines and next morning I wake up with stomach cramps and I'm in excruciating pain. And I think that something has gone wrong with me. Oh my God, I've taken, has my ailment gone worse? Why am I having so much pain? Then I quickly call up the doctor and I explain to him or her that this is the problem. And let's say the doctor tells me, oh, it's good you're having the pain because that shows that the medicine is working. And when the doctor says that, the pain doesn't go away. But knowing that there is a purpose behind the pain calms my mind. Knowing that this pain is leading me to something which is more relief calms my mind, isn't it? So in this life, as we are going through ups and downs, to know that God exists, to know that there is a purpose and which I may not be aware of right now, but at least I know someone is. Someone is in control and someone has a plan, isn't it? When Swami inaugurated the first college, which happens to be for women in Anantapur, the year 1968, if I'm not wrong. And in that discourse, Swami made this statement. He said, one of the greatest disservices that we have done to the younger generation is we are bringing them up without the knowledge of God, without the faith in God. And Swami said, to correct that, I am beginning this new mission of education, where young children will be brought up with faith in God. And Swami said that is so important in this journey of life to merely have this idea that God exists. And for many of us, I think the greatest blessing that Swami has given, whether we've had the opportunity to see Swami or speak with Swami or interact with Swami or even be in his presence, merely by coming into our life, Swami has reinstated this faith in God. And that itself is the first and one of the most important blessings that Swami has given us. But never will we ever be able to understand the magnitude of his divinity truly to speak. There was this devotee who, we're all given to a lot of praise, especially when we are in front of Swami, or even in most of our prayers, we tend to praise a lot, right? Maybe we're given to the idea that Swami has to be pleased by praising him, and only then he will answer our prayers. So there was this devotee who was in front of Swami, and he was like pouring praises on Swami. Oh, Swami, you're this greatest and Lord of the Lords, and this and that. And Swami looked at him and asked, what is Swami according to you? Right? How do you define Swami? What do you think Swami is? And this man went into saying, Swami, you're Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Right? You're the Lord of creation, you're the Lord of destruction and sustenance. The Trinity that we often speak about in Indian culture. He said, Swami, you're Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. And Swami said, what do you mean? And Swami said, Brahma, Vishnu and Maheshwara are my managers. I have appointed them to take care of this creation. We cannot even comprehend who he really is, right? So I don't know if just by knowing Swami can we say that we know God. I would often think that is it even possible to say that Swami is God? I can tell you that this is a mic because I've seen a lot of mics before. I can tell you this is a podium because I've seen podiums before. How can I tell Swami is God? Have I seen God before? But still we are all trying to make the best attempts to fit him into that concept of God that we have built, right? And our concept of God is so limited and tiny in that sense. But nevertheless, just to give us this solace and this calmness of mind to believe that in all the randomness that I'm going through, all the ups and downs that I'm going through, there is someone who is at least keeping a track of what's happening, right? Nothing is random, nothing happens without a reason. But from this faith of God is, why is it important for us as Swami's devotees to acknowledge Swami as God, right? The idea that here is Swami and for me Swami is God. From Swami's point of view, I think it means nothing for him to come and prove to us anything. Let's say there is a father. The father will not try to impress the child with his CV. The father only shows love. The father is not trying to impress upon the child that he has few thousand people working under him, or this is his net worth, or this is his professional qualification. The father only showers love, and same is the case with Swami. Swami doesn't have to prove to us who he is. He only showers love. But sometimes the mind requires that input of who Swami is. There was this devotee from, I think, the United States, who was living in Vrindavan for a few years. And he had this problem that he had a very, very high rate of metabolysis. Right? His metabolism was so high that he had to eat every few hours. So he would always think, Swami, please don't call us for an interview in the morning, because if you call me for an interview and if I get hungry, that will be a problem. And invariably, Swami would call this devotee and the group that he was part of in the afternoon. So that worked out well for him, because that would be just after lunch. And by the time the interview would get over, he could come back and have another bite. But one day, Swami calls him for an interview in the morning. And he was getting concerned. So he sat there in the interview. Half an hour, 45 minutes went in, and his stomach started grumbling. So he was trying his best to tell his mind, no, pay attention to what Swami is saying. Don't think of all these things. But after some time, the mind would just not listen. The mind was thinking of all the things that he could eat after Swami lets him go. And in his mind, he was thinking, Swami, please, hope you finish this interview fast. And as these thoughts became stronger and stronger, suddenly Swami looked at him. And Swami waved his hand and materialized some sweet and distributed to everybody sitting there. And this was quite odd, right? Swami was giving a discourse, and in the middle of the discourse, Swami is distributing prasadam. So Swami gives sweets to everyone, and Swami looks at this man and says, eat and concentrate. So that act of grace of giving that man what he required at that point in time was only so that the mind could be silenced and it could concentrate on something that was more important. Many times, I think, though we speak a lot about the many miracles that Swami performs, we speak about the stupendous things that Swami does to prove who he is only so that the mind could be silenced and the intellect can focus on what is more important. Because it is the mind that keeps asking these questions. Is he really what he is? Do you think he is like that? Do you think he is this? And he keeps showing us every now and then what he is capable of, that he is always everywhere with us. Because the mind requires that reassurance every now and then. It is not because he wants to show who he is, because we need to be shown who he is. There's one of my juniors in college. He was part of this team that was doing this sport, aerosports, right? We used to have these sports meet celebrations in front of Swami, Jan 11th, it happens even now. So there was this small group that was doing aerosports, and I think they were doing paramotors that year. So they would take off from the airport in Prasanthi Nilayam, and during the Jan 11th event, they would come and land in the stadium. So this practice would happen in the airport, in the airport, and Swami would go and attend that practice just to encourage the boys. So one day Swami goes for this practice, and these three boys go high up, few hundred feet up in the air, and Swami was so thrilled to see that. They come back, and this boy comes to Swami to take blessings, and Swami looks at him and Swami said, "You went so high up in the air. Are you not scared?" Swami asked him, "Dar nahi lagta hai?" In Hindi. You're not scared? And this boy with a bright smile, he said, "Swami, why should I be? You are there. Why should I be scared?" And Swami said, "Very good," and patted him. So this was in the practice. A few days later, when the actual event happened, he says he goes up in the air carrying that 40-kilogram motor behind him and the parachute and all of that. And when he's high up in the air, the motor stops working. And there is no way he can start it back because the levers are behind him, and it's a 40-kilo load on his back, and it is only going to drag him eventually and maybe crash him against one of the hills in the valley. And there's nothing that he could do about it. So he just was literally hanging in there for what was eventual to happen. And he was slowly thinking in his mind, "Swami, I'm disappointing you. I'm expected to be landing there in the stadium and it is not happening. So I'm not completing the event I've started. I'm only disappointing you." And as he was thinking that, without him doing anything, the motor starts all by itself. Nobody down knew this was happening to him. And this boy completed his whole, the event was completed. He had to go up to the stage to take Swami's blessings. He goes up to Swami, and Swami looks at him with a twinkle in his eye. "Did you get scared?" Come to think of it, if in our car, in the place of 2 airbags, if we have 4 airbags, we feel more secure. Wearing a seat belt makes us more secure. We are flying up in the aeroplane so many thousand feet above. to have a life jacket under our seat makes us feel secure. How much more secure we must feel with this thought that we have Swami with us. How much more secure we must feel that we have the Supreme Lord for whom nothing is beyond his bounds, for whom there is no place where he isn't. There was this devotee of Swami who was working in Prasanthi Nilayam, and for some reason Swami was very, very upset with him. So Swami walks up to him one day and reprimands him for whatever he had done. And Swami was giving him a piece of his mind, and Swami said, I'm very, very upset with you. One more time if you do this, I'm going to throw you out. So he said, all right, Swami, I will not do it again. A few months later, I don't know what he did. He repeated the same thing again, and this time Swami was livid. Swami said, this is not done. I told you I will not spare you the next time. And so Swami was standing right in the portico in front of all the students and staff and giving this devotee a piece of his mind. And Swami said, I'm very, very upset with you. It's time now. You pack your bags and leave. Right? That was the final instruction. Swami said, you pack and leave. I don't want to see you here anymore. And Swami told him very, very clearly in English, I don't want to see your face anymore. Don't show me your face anymore. So this devotee got up, and Swami thought that he is getting up to take Pad Namaskar. So Swami walked back, and Swami said, no Pad Namaskar for you. Pack and leave. Swami was so upset that people around thought that, it's not a day when you have to be seen by Swami, because Swami was so angry. And as this was going on, this man got up and he told Swami, Swami, I will leave. And Swami said, yes, you have to. But I just have one thing to ask before I leave. Swami asked, what is it? He said, Swami, can you tell me that place where if I go, I cannot show you my face? He said, in this whole wide universe, can you tell me that place where if I go to, I will not be able to show you my face? And that one word calmed Swami down, quote unquote, calmed him down. And Swami said, yes, there is no place where you go and I am not there. And Swami said, even in this time of crisis, even in this time when your whole life was in the edge, Swami said, you have not forgotten who Swami is. So I forgive you this time. So a mere thought that I have this Swami with me everywhere at all times should make us feel that there is nothing for us to worry about, should allow us to lead life in a way that we can do whatever has to be done. We do not have to be worried about whether our due comes to us. We do not have to worry about will we be safe, will our needs be taken care of. But it is not very easy for everyone to have that faith in Swami, isn't it? Otherwise, the whole world would have had that faith in Swami. There was this devotee who would come to Swami in the early 1950s. She was drawn to Swami and she was very fascinated by Swami. Being in Swami's presence is a very unique experience, and I'm sure most of you know. But somehow she was not able to wrap her mind around the idea that Swami is God. She said, he looks so human, right? And he looks so playful. He's given to, sometimes he gets angry, sometimes he is happy. He looks so human. But she did not express this to Swami. She always had this thought. So one day Swami comes up to her when she was all alone. And Swami himself brings up this topic. And Swami says, sometimes you think like this, don't you? And how can Swami be God? How can he be God? He is just like me. I will come back to this story again. And the same conversation happened with another student, where this boy comes from a family of devotees, and having become a student of Swami, was so drawn by Swami's love. And he loved being around Swami. But again, this question, can he really be God? No, that's too big a word. He's just human like me. And one day Swami calls this family for an interview. And Swami speaks to his parents. And then Swami, at the end of the interview, Swami says, yes, you can leave. And as they get up to leave, Swami looks at this boy and says, you sit down. And the boy sits. And after the parents leave, Swami again brings up the topic himself. Say, kabhi kabhi sochta hai. Sometimes you think, how can Swami be God? He looks human like us. And the boy was a bit embarrassed. Swami was bringing this up right in front of him openly. He was a bit embarrassed by this idea. And Swami said, it's all right. It's understandable. After all, I look human like you. And then the next thing that Swami does is he waves his hand and materializes a photograph and gives it to him. And this boy looks at this photograph. And whose photograph is it? It's a photograph of him and his friend when they bunked their college one day, went to a cinema hall, and during the intermission of the cinema hall, he and his friend go behind the hall and had a secret smoke. And they looked around, there was nobody around, and of course that's why they were bold enough to do that. And here was a perfectly captured photograph of he and his friend smoking. Two things flooded this boy's mind at that moment. Here is the Lord who is omnipresent. He is all the while around us. And then he thinks, and he knows everything that I've done. He knows every mistake I've done, every mischief I've done. But he still loves me. And that thought was more warm for him than the idea that Swami is everywhere and Swami is God. Because till that point, he got so much love from Swami, and he thought, Swami, I thought you didn't know what I am and so you're loving me. But now I know that you know perfectly well what I am, but you still chose to love me. So pretty much similarly, it happened with this lady where she had these thoughts, and she was seeing a lot of miracles. Swami was doing all kinds of miracles at the sands of Chitravati and all of that. And Swami brings up this topic all by himself, and when she was alone. Sometimes you think that how can Swami be God? And again, this lady becomes very embarrassed and she says, Swami, I'm really sorry, it's not like that. And Swami says, no, why do you have to feel bad? It is but natural. Swami says, I am human to look at. Right? Swami said, I have one nose like you, 2 ears like you, 2 hands. And it is too much of me to ask you to believe that I'm God. Right? Literally, Swami put it that way. But then Swami said, but you shouldn't leave it there. Because to understand or to have this faith who I am is very, very useful in your life's journey. So she looked at Swami and said, Swami, so what should I do? Swami said, you can test me. And she asked her, Swami, how do I test you? Right? Only the teacher who knows the subject well can test the student. What do I know about God to be able to test him and to grade him, saying that, okay, you have cleared my test? And Swami himself tells her how you can test Swami. Swami says, see, powers a lot of people can display. If you do a little bit of sadhana, you'll get some siddhis, you'll get some supernatural powers. Powers a lot of people will have. Swami told her, you test my omnipresence. Swami said, don't test my powers, test my omnipresence. So she said, Swami, how do I do that? Swami said, you call on me at one particular point when you lead me, see whether I am coming to your rescue or not. So she says, all right. And she goes back. She comes from one of the North Indian cities. She goes back. And one day, it so happens that her son falls very, very sick. To give him all kinds of medication doesn't help. They're not able to diagnose what the condition is. They try for typhoid and malaria and jaundice. Everything is ruled out. They don't know what he is really suffering from, but the fever is not coming down. Then it came to a point where the boy started becoming delirious. He started speaking. Nobody could understand what he was saying. He started running helter-skelter. So the mother got really scared. So she was wondering what to do, and that is when she goes into the altar room and she sits in front of Swami's picture and she says, Swami, I want to test your omnipresence today. She said, I want to test your omnipresence today, and this is the test I'm going to give you. Swami says, she says, now when I go back to my son's room, he should be asleep. Condition number 1. When I check his temperature, it should be normal. Condition number 2. And when I wake up tomorrow morning, and when I check his temperature, it should be normal. If all these 3 happen, I will accept, Swami, that you are omnipresent. And she goes back to the room. No surprises, the boy is asleep. She checks his temperature. Again, no surprises, it's absolutely normal. And she wakes up the next morning, checks his temperature, it's absolutely normal. And as this is happening, Swami is sitting in the palace of the Raja of Venkatagiri, one of the great devotees of Swami. Swami is visiting the palace at that very precise moment, and Swami is sitting with the family and talking to them. And all of a sudden Swami says, hey, wait, that devotee is going to test me today. Swami said, wait, that devotee from the city of, I think, Pune or somewhere. Swami said, that devotee is right now testing me. And much later when she came, she got to know that precisely at that time Swami was telling that to these devotees here. So Swami said, it is not easy for you to comprehend who I am, but it is necessary for you to make that attempt. But even after that, I don't think any of us can completely understand who Swami is. Swami had given this beautiful analogy to one of the devotees who had come in the early years, explaining his own nature. Swami said, imagine you go into the fields and you find a wild horse, right? You find a wild horse which is calmly grazing. And you see it and you think, oh, that horse doesn't look too aggressive. I think I can ride that horse, right? So then you'll go closer to it. The moment you get on top of it, the wild horse becomes wild only then, right? When you leave it alone, it is not wild, it is calm. So Swami says, the moment you get onto it, the wild horse will start jumping and trying to get you off its back. Then after some time, it will calm down. And then you will think, okay, now I know how to ride this horse. Then that confidence will come a little bit. And then after some time, the wild horse will again shake you. And again you will think that, oh, I've not got a grip of this horse. And then after some time, the horse will again calm. This devotee was wondering, where is Swami going with this? And then Swami said, I am like that wild horse. Swami said, when you first come to me, I will allow you to comprehend me. Right? Swami said, if I'm completely incomprehensible, you will not even make the attempt. So Swami said that, I will allow you to understand me. Oh, this is what Swami likes. This is what Swami doesn't like. Oh, if you do this, you can get his grace. If you do this puja, Vibhuti is going to manifest. Right? He fits himself into the concepts that we draw. And then Swami says, slowly then I will start behaving like that wild horse. And then you will wonder, I think I have not got Swami. Then after some time again Swami feels like, okay, now I understand him. Now I understand him better. And Swami said, I keep doing this again and again and again till you come to a point that you will never understand me and you will accept me. There was this devotee of Swami who had come to Vrindavan because it was his birthday. He wanted to take Swami's blessings. So he was sitting for darshan, and for some reason that morning Swami did not come, and he got a good place to sit in front. He had taken his tray with all those things which Swami would bless on someone's birthday. So he was sitting in front, and because Swami didn't come, a lot of people got up. He thought that let me not get up because I might lose the spot, because that was the time, I think on Sundays and Thursdays we have bhajans which go on from morning to the evening in Vrindavan. So he decided, I'm not going to get up, I will sit here all through the bhajans, so that when Swami comes in the afternoon, I can still have this vantage spot. So he sits there and he starts meditating. He said, let me sit and spend this time in meditation. He starts thinking about Swami, he starts trying to recollect Swami. And then suddenly he has this thought. He says, Swami, the scriptures describe you as one who is beyond thought. The scriptures describe you as someone who is incomprehensible. Right? In the Vedas we say, Yato vacho nivartante aprapya manasasaha. He said, it says that in the attempt to reach him, the faculties of speech and reason return defeated. That is the nature of the Lord. So he's sitting there and thinking, when you are beyond thought, how am I to think of you? When you are beyond comprehension, how am I to comprehend you? And he says, how do I think of you? I mean, do I think of you as that form? Do I think of you as that name? Do I think of you as being loving? Do I think of you as being disciplinarian? He says, because all of this doesn't define you, because you are beyond thought. And he said that this obsession that he was having, how do I think of Swami? How do I think of Swami? How do I think of Swami? Kept him in that contemplation for 3 hours. And he said, I did not get an answer. What am I supposed to think? And just as Swami was coming for afternoon darshan, he says, suddenly a thought struck him. Oh, I am supposed to think of Swami like this, that he cannot be thought about. I am supposed to contemplate on God as he who is beyond contemplation. I am supposed to meditate on him as he who cannot be meditated upon. Right? And he felt that is the answer that I was looking for the past 3 hours. I should contemplate him as the one who is beyond thought. And Swami comes around giving darshan, and Swami comes to him to bless him on his birthday. And Swami looks at him and asks, did you get your answer? So till the point where we give up this attempt to understand him, we give up this effort to put him in our philosophies. Swami says, I will allow you to come and understand me. I will make you believe that you have understood me. And I think that is what people like me, when we come and speak about Swami, do, right? We speak as though we know him. We speak as though he can be defined in the words that we choose to speak. In Vedas, there's a very beautiful concept that is spoken about, which is referred to, the word that we use for that is pramana. Right? As we go through life, we have different understandings and different comprehensions, and they're all based on some tool of knowledge. The simplest example is, I can tell you that today is a bright day. How do I know that? I can see it. Right? I can see it myself. It is my own experience. So one tool of knowledge is direct experience. And that is referred to as pratyaksha pramana. Right? It's called pratyaksha pramana. The other tool of knowledge is deduction. I don't see it myself, but I see something else and I can deduce that that is what is happening. The classic example they would give is, you suddenly see birds flying over the sky at one place. You know there is a water body there. You have not seen the water body, but you know there must be one, because otherwise birds will not be there. Or you see smoke coming out of somewhere, you know there is a fire. You don't see the fire, but you know that there must be fire. And the Vedas say that this is anumana pramana. It's a way of knowing something by deduction. Then there is something called upamana pramana, which is analogies, right? We constantly have that. A classic analogy they say is, the relationship between pot and clay is the same as the relationship between the individual and the Supreme. The relationship between the waves and the ocean is the relationship between the Jivatma and the Paramatma. So we always have this resorting to analogies, comparisons, right? That is called Upamana Pramana. But the fourth one, which is very important, is referred to as Shabda Pramana, which means I do not see it myself. I do not have any knowledge to deduce it. I do not have anything to compare it to. But I hear it from someone whose words I trust. Right? I hear it from a source whose knowledge I have faith on. And that is called Shabda Pramana. Like suppose I'm here in Australia and I can tell you, oh, this happened in Prasanthi Nilayam yesterday. So you might ask me, did you see it yourself? No. Then how do you know? I know someone there who saw it and who told me. And that is good enough, right? As long as I trust that person, I can tell you that this happened for sure. And this Shabda Pramana is what we turn towards a guru. When the guru comes and tells me this is the truth, I take his word for it. So when we come to Swami, in his words, there are a lot of things that he says which is logical, that we can understand by contemplating on it. But there will also be some truths that have to be taken because he says it. Because there is no way we can deduce it, there is no way we can witness it ourselves. We do not have any tools of knowledge to comprehend it. But the very fact that Swami says so is good enough. But this is not only in relation to spirituality, right? Everything. Our science is full of Shabda Pramana. I cannot prove you the existence of gravity, but I might know some scientists who can. I have no knowledge of quantum mechanics, but I know a scientist who has worked in it for 30-40 years and I trust his work. I cannot prove it myself, but I trust his words. Or say a geologist who has done his research in some corner of the world, which I will never visit, but I will quote him with confidence and say, this person has said so. But the problem with this Shabda Pramana is, let us say that you meet someone who comes and tells you, this is what happened in the city square today. So that becomes a Shabda Pramana. You base your knowledge on the word. Someone else comes and tells you, no, this is not how it happened because I was much closer to the event and this is how it happened. So that Shabda Pramana is overruled by this one. Or then you meet someone else who was actually in the middle of the whole situation. So that overrules the other two that you heard. So when we come to Swami and in our faith in his words, if we say, Swami, we trust whatever you say, and we make him our Shabda Pramana, which is very good. But the problem is, if someone else comes and tells something which is a little more appealing, we run this danger of replacing our trust in Swami's words with something else. Right? And that is why it is said to acknowledge who Swami is becomes very, very important. There's a beautiful word that is used to describe God, which comes from this word Pramana itself. God is described in the Vedas as Aprameya. Aprameya means he who is beyond all Pramanas. All tools of learning and knowledge are below the mind. The Lord is above the mind. It is impossible to comprehend through these tools. So when we give Swami the place of that Aprameya, we are telling Swami, we give value to your words beyond my reason, beyond the reason of anyone I can come across. Right? And this Swami doesn't say that if you don't do this, I will not consider you my devotee or I think any less of you. But this is a journey that Swami wants each one of us to take by ourselves. Where we place absolute faith in Swami's words And that absolute faith comes through experience. Comes through the experience that here is the one and the only one I can trust. Through this journey of life, we will be able to look at Swami and say, Swami, I trust only you. And that faith will make us lift Swami's words and put it in that state of aprameya instead of that Shabda Pramana, isn't it? Because otherwise, there was this doctor who was talking to us, who was a diabetologist. So Swami was talking to him in the interview room, and Swami suddenly told him, there's a lot of diabetes in southern part of India because of rice eating. Now this was completely against the research that this person was doing, because according to his research till that point in time, a region's staple food can never cause disease. Only when you change your diet, suddenly, a generation suddenly changes its diet, that's when diseases step in. So he was saying that this is not what science believes right now. Eating rice cannot cause diabetes. Right? That is his reasoning, and that was his research. Probably that was the words that he trusted from other researchers. Nevertheless, he decides to go back and look into this a little more. And that's when he realized that eating rice was never a staple food. It happened quite recently after India got independence. The Green Revolution happened, and suddenly rice became so easily available to all the masses. And then he realized that the whole research that he had worked on was based on a very limited premise. And merely because Swami told him, and he had a little more faith in what Swami said, he said he was able to overrule what was till that point in time believed as good research. Otherwise, what will happen? Some other scientist will come and give you a little more elaborate scientific reasoning, and we'll think, did Swami get it right? Was Swami really right when he said this? But when we raise Swami's words to the level where it has to be, we will say that, Swami, I may not understand it right now, but I believe that what you say is the ultimate truth. This journey of believing in Swami's words, right? It starts with, as Swami said, acknowledging his omnipresence. And why do we really turn to him for anything at all? I think it is only because we acknowledge and we believe his omnipotence also, isn't it? That there is something that I cannot do by myself. There is something that I cannot get done with anybody's help, but with Swami's help I can. There was this devotee of Swami, not really a devotee. I don't know, we cannot define anybody as a devotee and non-devotee. That is not our place. But there was this lady who got to know about Swami, and she traveled to Prasanthi Nilayam with a prayer in her heart. All that she wanted was to be blessed with a child. For many years after marriage, she was not given that blessing, and she was very despondent. And when she heard about Swami, for some reason, the moment she heard about Swami, she felt that Swami can bless me, that Baba can bless me with a child. And so she comes to Puttaparthi, and Swami calls her for an interview, maybe in the early years. And then she tells Swami that, Swami, I've come for this blessing, that you should give me a child. And Swami looks at her, and Swami pauses for a few seconds, and Swami said, but it is not written in your fate. He said, it is not written in your fate to have a child. Anybody else would have got a little disappointed hearing that from Swami. But this lady had a surprised look on her face, because she looked at Swami and said, if it is not written, write it now. She said, here you are, right? Here you are, the one who writes everyone's destiny. Here I am in front of you. Write it now. And Swami looked at her, and Swami asked her, do you really believe that I can do it? And she said, yes, Swami, that is why I am here. So if you feel it is not written in my destiny, write it now. And in a beautiful gesture, Swami said, come here. And Swami literally wrote something on her head. Right? Because we say that it is not written in our head. That is the phrase that we use. Swami says, come here, and does a gesture as though he is writing something on her forehead. And Swami said, go, you will have a child. And promptly a year later, she came back with her child to be blessed with Swami, by Swami. So when we acknowledge that Swami's omnipresence and omnipotence, to make us believe, right? That is the whole point. It is not to bless us. It is not because to perform some miracles in our life. It is not because we will praise him at the end of it. It is not because we will become part of his organization and do some work for him. It is in our best interest to acknowledge him as that Supreme Lord. And it is in our best interest to look at his words with that acknowledgement. And for that, just like that story of that hungry man in the interview room, what he does as a miracle is so that just to silence the mind and make it focus on what is important a little more. And for that, whatever miracles he plays in our lives is to constantly remind us that this is who I am. And when you come to me, you need not have any fear at all. But as we are, in front of him, placing our prayers, placing our desires, Swami would say that it is very important to pay attention to what you are asking to. Because one of my teachers would say that when you write letters to Swami, keep a note of what you write to Swami. And he would say that see whether your prayer is changing over the years. Because if you're asking for the same things that you asked 10 years ago, then there's something wrong in you. And invariably, all our prayers change. And the more mature we become, more wise we become, we will ask for better things, isn't it? And that journey happens when we are conscious. There's always this debate, should we ask Swami, should we not ask Swami? Swami sometimes say, never ask me. Sometimes Swami says, if you don't ask, even your mother will not feed you, so ask. So always this debate, so should we pray, should we not pray, should we put our desires before him? But it is important because it is one's prayers that define a person. You could be here in Adelaide, but if your prayers are for Swami, if your prayers are for spiritual progress, you will be a spiritual person. I could be sitting in an ashram, but if I'm thinking of the world, I become a worldly person. So where I am, what I do does not define who I am. What I ask for defines who I am, isn't it? There was this lecturer of Swami whose daughter had got married and she moved to the United States. So he was very concerned about her because first time she's traveling abroad, she's settling in this new country, going into a new family. So he was very worried about her. And he was in Prashantanilayam. One day when he was leaving for darshan, he gets a letter. The postman comes and gives him a letter. And he's delighted to see that the letter is from his daughter, who has just recently moved to the United States. But as he receives the letter, he hears the darshan music, which means Swami has come. So he decides he'll go to the mandir and he'll sit in the mandir and read the letter. So he goes there and sits there as Swami is coming through the lady's side. He's going through the letter. And in that his daughter is written, by Swami's grace, I am happy. By Swami's grace, this family is very good. By Swami's grace, the city is very good. By Swami's grace, my in-laws are very good. So all her paragraphs begin with that. By Swami's grace, this has happened. By Swami's grace, I have got this. And at the end of it, she says, by Swami's grace, I am very, very happy. So reading that letter, he got so emotional, he started remembering his daughter. He shed a few tears, folded his letter and he put it away. By then Swami came to where he was sitting and Swami came to him and Swami asked, where's your letter? And this professor looked at Swami and said, Swami, I have not written any letter. Swami said, not your letter. Where is your daughter's letter? And then Swami makes a beautiful observation. Swami says, did you notice, sitting far away in the United States, your daughter is thinking of Swami and she is happy. Sitting in Prasanthi Nilayam, you're thinking of your daughter and you're crying. So wherever you are, whether you are before Swami or near Swami, away from Swami, if the prayers are focused on Him, you become a spiritual person. You may be right under His nose, you might be in Prasanthi Nilayam, but if your thoughts and your desires are worldly, you become a worldly person. So when we have these prayers, Swami says, are these prayers slowly maturing to what they have to be? And for that, I always would think, okay, Swami can do anything that he wants. Swami can grant anything that he wants. Swami has the power to give us whatever we ask for. And the question is, will he do that? And why should he do that? It's like saying, I'm a very poor man in the city and there's a billionaire in the same city. The billionaire can give me money and remove my poverty. The billionaire has the wherewithal to give me what I need. But why is he going to give it to me? Similarly, can God give me what I want? Yes, He can. Is He capable of answering my prayers? Yes, He is. But why should He? And that is why in this journey that it is not merely about acknowledging who Swami is with reference to the powers that He represents or the abilities that He has, but along with that, this thought that He can, but He also loves. Only when we bring in this attribute of love in this relationship between Swami and us, we know that He can, He also cares. And not only does He care, He loves, which means our journey is important to Him. And only when we have that attitude, we will be able to see that He gives when He gives even when He does not give. He blesses even when He denies us what we ask for. Because He loves. Because whatever He does out of His love, isn't it? Otherwise, we will only think of it as, here is somebody who can give me what I want. I've asked him, he gave me. Or I asked him, he did not give me. I go to the next person whom I can ask from. But if I acknowledge that this is the Supreme Lord who is most concerned about me, who loves me and is my welfare is important to Him. When I have that thought, I will tell Him, Swami, this is what I want. But if you don't give it to me, I will take it. I'll understand that this is in my best interest. Right? And that acceptance is what is going to make us move closer to Him, isn't it? And to think of the fact that that Supreme Lord has come searching for each one of us to enter into our lives should make us feel truly blessed. There is this beautiful story of a great saint that occurs in one of the scriptures in India. There is this boy who is born into a family of a priest. He's a very charming little boy, very good looking. So the king of the land looks at this boy and gets attracted to his charm, and he tells his parents, I would like to bring him up as my foster son. So the king brings up this boy as a foster son, showering luxuries on him. He grows up to be a boy who's ready for marriage. So the king says, I will perform the marriage of this boy in the grandest of ways. So everything is going as smoothly as it can go in this boy's life. And one old man walks into the marriage hall and he stops the wedding and he says, you cannot have this wedding because this man belongs to me. He says, this man is my bond slave. And everybody is surprised. They've never seen this old man who looks like a sannyasi, who looks like a sadhu. No one has seen him before, and he comes into this gathering and says, this man belongs to me. And they're all wondering what is happening here. And the bridegroom, this boy who was ready to step into one of the most beautiful portions of his life, gets so startled. He starts shouting at this man, are you a madcap? I've never seen you before. How can you say that I'm your bond slave? And then this man produces a document. He says, your great-grandfather has written and given to me that all those who belong to my clan will be your bond slaves. So the elders look at this document and they say that the document is it's valid. So you have to go with him. You are bound to him. So the marriage is stopped. This man no more can lead a luxurious life of a prince. And he follows this sadhu and he says, now you're my slave, you come with me. And the story goes that the sadhu keeps walking and walking, and this man is following him and he's saying, where are you taking me? Why are you doing this to me? I was leading a happy life. Do you want me to live like a beggar like you? And this man keeps saying, don't talk to me, just follow me. And as they are walking, the man asks, where is your home? Where do you live? And the madman says, my home is the biggest home in the whole village. And he says, which is that home? And he shows the gopuram of the temple which is there. He says, that is my home. And this man thinks, oh, this man is so poor that he sleeps in the temple. Then he keeps following him, and he comes to a point where he comes in front of the sanctum, and as this man is seeing, this old man merges into the lingam which is there. And it is then that he realizes that the Lord himself had come to claim him as his own. The Lord had come to say that you belong to me, you're bound to me. And then the Lord manifests and he says that, many, many lifetimes before, you were my devotee. You belong to Kailasha, right? It is believed that Lord Shiva's loka is Kailasha, and Lord says that you belong to my loka and you did some mistake because of which you are cursed to be born as a human being. And before you were being born as a human being, you came and asked me, Lord, if this is the mistake for which, if this is the punishment for the mistake I've done, I accept it wholeheartedly. But you please give me a boon. And Lord Shiva says, what is that boon that you want? And this man says, when I go into the world, before I get lost in the world, you should come and claim me as your own. And Lord Shiva says, I gave you that promise, and that is what I did now. I have come to claim you as my own. And I think that is precisely what Swami is doing with each one of our lives, isn't it? It is not that we have to stop living lives that we have lived. It is not that we have to change the way that we have been living in that sense. Not that we all should go and stay in some temple or everybody should come and stay in the ashram. But this acknowledgement that before I could be lost in the world, he has come to claim me as his own, should change the way we look at our lives, should change the commitments that we have in this life, should change the goals that we have set for ourselves in this life. And that is the greatest blessing that Swami has come to give, isn't it? He has come to tell us that I claim you. And in that, whatever he does should be acceptable to us. There was one student whom Swami was not talking to for a while, and he was in a lot of pain. And there was this teacher who thought that why is Swami putting this boy through so much pain? See how this boy is crying, how he is pained that Swami is not talking to him. And so once when he had the opportunity, he goes and tells Swami, Swami, I met this boy, he's very, very sad. Swami should go and speak to him. Swami should go and, so that he'll stop crying. And Swami looks at this professor and asks him, when have you become more compassionate than me? Swami said, are you more compassionate than me that, your heart is melted that you have to come and tell me? Swami told him, never forget that whatever I do, it is only out of my compassion. I never do anything out of any other emotion. It is always out of love. It is always out of compassion. That acknowledgement of who Swami is, whenever we are going through whatever we go through in life, to say that that most loving Lord, that most compassionate Lord is putting me through this. That Lord who loves me more than anyone else has ever loved me, He is putting me through this. It can only mean that this is good for me. Otherwise, He would not have done this to me. Because there is no other emotion with which He operates. There is no revenge, there is no anger, there is no selfishness. So that is why it is important to have the faith in who He really is. It is not so that we can sit and sing in praises of Him. I don't know what he gets by that, right? There was this professor who always had this desire that he wanted to do an elaborate Pada Puja for Swami, right? How they do Abhishekam, they pour water in the feet, they put flowers, they offer fruits, that elaborate ritualistic worship. He always had that desire. So one day Swami granted it to him. Swami said, okay, come tomorrow and you can do it. So he comes with all the paraphernalia, with a big tray, with sacred water, kumkum and flowers. And Swami says, okay, do. And he does the whole thing. And he says, all through Swami was looking at him with amusement. And at the end of it, this devotee asks Swami, Swami, is it enough if we just have devotion and love? And Swami tells him, if in your opinion, what you did now is devotion, then it is not enough. If what you did now in the form of this elaborate ritual of worshipping my feet, if you think that is devotion, that is not enough. True devotion, if you have, that is more than enough. But this is not devotion. So our acknowledgement of who Swami is not for us to sit and sing praises of Him, is not for us to come and offer our wealth or our energy to Him. It is in the mind, right? It is all coming to that point of that Swami asking that boy, did you get scared? By entering our life, I think Swami has taken away the right for us to get scared. Swami has taken away from us the right to worry. Because He is there, and where He is, there cannot be fear, there cannot be worry. And that is why the famous photos that we see of Swami, where Swami is lifting his hands and blessing, we refer to that as Abhaya Hasta, right? So the greatest blessing that actually Swami confers is Abhaya, fearlessness. So if we claim that we understand who He is, it should reflect as fearlessness. If we have faith, it should reflect as not having any worry at all. And whatever Swami does in the form of miracles or the wonderful things that He does in our life to remind us of His presence is only for this, to lead us to that state of fearlessness, to lead us to that state of carefreeness, that we will be able to do what is right in our own lives and say that I do not have to worry about anything else because I know He has a plan, right? So these were the thoughts I wanted to share as an initial session.